Good morning and welcome to Braniel Community Church. It's great to have you with us this morning. My name is Matthew and I'm part of the team here at BCC. It's great to be able to share with you this morning as we continue our Heal, Hope, Belong DNA series. And this morning we'll be focusing on belong, and our readings are from the book of Ruth. This is the Word of God. First we read from Ruth 1 verses 12 to 18. Return home, my daughters. I am too old to have another husband. Even if I thought there was still hope for me, even if I had a husband tonight and then gave birth to 2 sons, would you wait until they grew up? Would you remain unmarried for them? No, my daughters, it is more better for me than for you, because the Lord's hand has turned against me. At this they wept aloud again. Then Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clung to her. Look, said Naomi, your sister-in-law is going back to her people and her gods. Go back with her. But Ruth replied, don't urge me to leave you or turn back from you. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separates me and you. When Naomi realized that Ruth was determined to go with her, she stopped urging her. So as we continue our series this morning and focus on belong, I want to look at the actions of 3 people in this story. With the help of our reading and a couple more extracts, I want to focus on Ruth, Naomi and Boaz. In particular, I want to focus on their actions and what they do to help others find their place of belonging. The book of Ruth is full of people who follow God. All the key people in the story have faith. It begins with a famine in the land of Judah, and a man, Elimelech, took his wife, Naomi, and their 2 sons and moved from Bethlehem to Moab. Moab and Israel had a contested past. At the time, Moabites were excluded from Israel's religious assemblies, and because of Moab's history of wicked intentions to harm Israel. For the family to move here shows just the conditions they left behind in Judah. The family seemed to settle in Moab as both sons married Moabite women, Ruth and Orpah. We are told they stayed in Moab for 10 years, during which time Elimelech and his 2 sons died. Naomi then learns that the Lord had provided food for his people in Judah, and sets off with her 2 daughters-in-law to go back to Bethlehem. And this is where we picked up in our reading. After setting out for Bethlehem together, Naomi has a change of heart. She has looked at her situation, what looks like a bleak future for the 3 of them, and releases Ruth and Orpah from any obligation they might feel. We can look at Naomi's position as untrusting in God. No, my daughters, it is more better for me than for you, because the Lord's hand is turned against me. However, we can also look at it as an action out of love for Ruth and Orpah, that she doesn't want them to suffer with her. Naomi cannot see how they can get through this together. She cannot see past the tragedy that has fallen at her feet. Naomi wants Ruth and Orpah to stay with their people, to stay with who she thinks they belong to remarry and to build a new family. Orpah hears what Naomi is saying and leaves to return home to her mother and her people. Hard to fault Orpah for this. How many of us, if we find ourselves in her shoes, would choose to follow our in-laws to a new country? However, this is not what Ruth did. Ruth clung to Naomi. Clung has a meaning of hold on tightly to and remain very close to. And Ruth then follows this up with the statement to declare where she belongs. Don't urge me to leave you or turn back from you. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me ever so severely, if even death separates you and me. So Ruth, a Moabite woman, who would have heard about the history of Israel and Moab, declares she belongs with Naomi. She belongs with Judah, and she belongs with God. Ruth has stepped out of her comfort zone, and what the outside, including Naomi, will perceive as her place of belonging, to take a chance. In doing so, we see a woman who follows her heart and not where the world tells her she belongs. We need to take Ruth's example and have the courage to step out from our comfort zone, step out from the places where we have been told we belong, and follow our hearts with God. Ruth not only declared where she belonged, but in stepping out, she also showed Naomi that she had a place of belonging with her. We as a church need to seek out opportunities like this, where we can step out, reach out to others to help them feel like they belong. So, with Ruth at her side, Naomi returned back to Bethlehem to seek out a new beginning together. I want to read now from chapter 2, verses 8 to 13. So Boaz said to Ruth, "My daughter, listen to me. Don't go and glean in another field, and don't go away from here. Stay here with the women who work for me. Watch the field where the men are harvesting and follow along with them after the women. I have told the men not to lay a hand on you. And whenever you are thirsty, go back and get a drink from water jars the men have filled." At this she bowed down with her face to the ground. She asked him, "Why have I found such favour in your eyes that you notice me, a foreigner?" Boaz replied, "I've been told all about what you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband. How you left your father and mother and your homeland and came to live with a people you did not know before. May the Lord repay you for what you have done. May you be richly rewarded by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge." "May I continue to find favour in your eyes, my Lord," she said. "You have put me at ease by speaking kindly to your servant, though I do not have the standing of one of your servants." So when back in Bethlehem, the two women needed to find food. Ruth set out to a field owned by Boaz to gather leftover grain behind the harvesters. When we first read this, we can think that Boaz is providing a kindness to Ruth, but by not reprimanding her for collecting grain from his field without getting the prior authorization. However, Israel's laws demanded that any grain that was dropped was to be left for the poor. Therefore, Ruth collecting grain and Boaz allowing her to collect the grain was what the law demanded. From this we can see that Boaz is an upstanding citizen of Israel and will do his civic duty where the law requires. However, this is not where Boaz stops. He goes further than required. He goes over and above for Ruth. "My daughter, listen to me. Don't go and glean from another field, and don't go away from here. Stay here with the women who work for me. Watch the field where the men are harvesting, and follow along after the women. I have told the men not to lay a hand on you, and whenever you are thirsty, go and drink from the water jars the men have filled." How wonderful Boaz's kindness and generosity is. Ruth questions why he would treat a foreigner in this way. Boaz explains he has heard all she has done for Naomi, and his reply includes, "May the Lord repay you for what you have done. May you be richly rewarded by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge." Boaz tells Ruth she belongs with God. Ruth, after stepping out of her home, stepping into the unknown, is told that she, by a man of God, an Israelite, that she belongs here. These acts show that Boaz is not only a citizen of Israel and abides by their laws, but is also a man of God. Boaz goes above and beyond what the intent of the law, demonstrating his kindness and generosity. Out of his abundance, he provided for the needy. How often do we go beyond the accepted patterns of providing for those less fortunate? How often do we do more than the minimum for others? These are the real questions we need to ask ourselves. We need to always be reviewing what we give away by our time, our money, our counsel to others. Making the extra effort and going the extra mile can make the world of difference to someone. Isn't that what God, through Jesus, did for each and every one of us? We all need to try and do a little bit more than the norm. And if we do, hopefully we can make more people feel like they belong. I wanted to go to one final reading from the book of Ruth. from Ruth chapter 3, verses 1 to 5. One day Ruth's mother-in-law Naomi said to her, "My daughter, I must find a home for you, where you will be well provided for. Now Boaz, with whose women you have worked, is a relative of ours. Tonight he will be winnowing barley on the threshing floor. Wash, put perfume on, and get dressed in your best clothes. Then go down to the threshing floor, but don't let him know you are there until he has finished eating and drinking. When he lies down, note the place where he is lying. Then go and uncover his feet and lie down, and he will tell you what to do." "I will do whatever you say," Ruth answered. So when Naomi heard the news of what Boaz had done for Ruth, her hope for the future was renewed. She could now see beyond the difficult times to a better life. Typical to her character, her first thought is for Ruth. "My daughter, I must find a home for you where you will be well provided for." Naomi continues to strive for a better life for her daughter-in-law. How often, when we come through tough situations, do we sit back and enjoy the relief? Not Naomi. She continues to work to ensure a prosperous life for Ruth, as she can have a place to belong. Naomi gives Ruth a list of instructions to follow, and Ruth simply replies, "I will do whatever you say." This response shows the level of trust between the two women, the close bond that they have. What Naomi is trying to do is help Ruth encourage Boaz to be the guardian redeemer of the family. In Jewish law, if the husband dies, it permits the closest relative to marry the widow to ensure that their land and family name continue. The story continues, and Ruth does exactly as Naomi has told her. Boaz commits to doing all he can to become the guardian redeemer. Boaz seeks out the closest relative and offers him the chance to take up the guardian redeemer role, putting any of his own thoughts and ambitions aside. This again shows Boaz's godly character. He is only concerned with the well-being of Ruth and not his own ambitions. In the end, the closest relative cannot become the guardian redeemer, and as promised, Boaz takes up the role and Ruth and Boaz marry. God blesses them with a son named Obed. He became the father of Jesse and the grandfather of David. If we take a step back and look at the overview of this story, Ruth, a foreigner, a Moabite who would have been treated as an outsider by Israel, takes a step of faith towards God, who she has heard about from her in-laws, but would not have been brought up to know. By taking this step, she moves to a new land, finds a new home, a new family, and a place she belongs. Through the faith that she showed, she is blessed with a son, and through her family line comes King David and eventually Jesus. If this story isn't the greatest advert for finding your place to belong with God, I don't know what is. For each of us, we need to take a look at our lives, take stock out of our current situation and ask ourselves these questions. Is this where I feel I belong, or am I being put here by others? Do I go above and beyond the necessary to help others feel like they belong? In times of worry and hardship, do I continue to help those around me? We as a church need to be challenging ourselves with these things. But as this story, none of this must be done alone. As with the book of Ruth, God is sprinkled everywhere in our lives. He is there to help us through and to help us find our place of belonging. Sometimes all we need to do is exactly what Ruth did. Have a little faith and take the first step towards Him. As I finish this morning, I just want to share with you the words of Psalm 100. Shout for joy to the Lord, all the earth. Worship the Lord with gladness. Come before Him with joyful sounds. Know the Lord is God. It is He who made us, and we are His. We are His people, the sheep of His pasture. Enter His gates in thanksgiving, and His courts with praise. Give thanks to Him, and praise His name. For the Lord is good, and His love endures forever. His faithfulness continues through all generations. Amen.